All right.
Welcome to the Jake Giffin Podcast.
He is a worship leader. He's a business owner. He is a bass fisherman. He is an educated man from the school of John MacArthur himself, and he is one of my best friends. Mel Duncan is a bass fisherman. He is an educated man from the school of John MacArthur himself, and he is one of my best friends. Mel Duncan, welcome to the Jake Giffin Podcast, sir.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
It is early. I know it's early for you. You're hoofing it there at Easy Street Driving School in Oxnard. So if anybody is looking for driving schools in or around Ventura, Santa Barbara, boom.
We're here for you.
You're the guy. So we took a hit yesterday, dude, because we have when we talk on this podcast about the animal and the spirit, we're talking about the flesh. We're talking about being earthly minded versus spiritually minded. And there just seems to be, at some point, these influential people, these anomalies that pop up in our timeline that are super intelligent, that are really persuasive and likable. And they're, maybe they're Christians, maybe they're not. But in this particular case, the guy was super Christian, unashamed, and conservative to a core. And I think he was really bringing a lot of people over into the conservative camp. I won't say Republican camp, because I'm not really a Republican as much as I am an independent, libertarian even. Do what you want, don't care. Mm-hmm. That's me. I don't have a horse. I want people to find their relationship with God. I want them to find a change of mind in aiming towards Him. What you do before that, I don't look. I'm not. I don't judge. So what are your thoughts? We lost a guy yesterday. We lost another guy yesterday. So what do you got? I know you got thoughts about it.
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts. I'm in drive in the car with no radio on mode. That's what I get like. I get through stages of grief, definitely angry, definitely wanting to, hey man, I went onto the internet because I'm trying to find out what's going on. I made the mistake of going on CBS's coverage. And
what was CBS
Jake
saying?
Introduced me as an intelligent man, but that was a whoopsie.
What was CBS saying though?
It wasn't what CBS was saying.
Uh-huh.
It's what the live comments were scrolling.
Oh, the hate and the nonsense about
the celebration. It made me feel like 911 when we saw those pictures of mass amounts of people in the Middle East dancing in the streets when two buildings went down.
But to be fair, we expect that kind of stuff from people in the Middle East, right? We don't expect it. I mean, I guess we've kind of learned to expect it from people, from super liberals here who don't really have a voice of their own, who are losing the minds of the populace. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, there's in the Middle East there are many people, and I hate to say this, not all, because everybody says this not all thing, and it's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're just making observations and easy with the racism stuff, but there are many people in the Middle East that outwardly state death to the infidels. They're just they don't try to hide it at all. Our people hide it, and we're trying to preserve democracy. And ends justifies the means, and we're gonna candy coat it, but we're doing some really wicked things. So yeah, that was tough for me, and so I was also, so then I'm starting to think about just what it means to be a Christian, and starting to reevaluate my life and what I'm doing, and then the priorities I have. I mean, it's just heard my message on Sunday about evangelism and just sharing the gospel, that our church is a church of disciples making disciples, that it's the congregation's job to make disciples, not the pastor's job to make disciples only. I mean, obviously they have that role too, but each individual Christian has the mandate to go into all the earth and make disciples.
Yeah.
And I ain't doing that as much as I'd like to. And then I also am very critical of myself, so I got to make sure that I'm not critical. I mean, I have these ideas of these forms that I think that I should follow, and it's usually in comparison to somebody else, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
So I could be doing that in my own way, and I think that's the important thing for me to really, really focus on now. Being a good dad, being a good husband,
being a good discipler,
being just a good example.
And for people listening, the responsibility, the whatever you want to call it, of making disciples is simply coming alongside another individual and teaching them how to walk like Christ, how to be like Christ, how to pray like Christ, how to share. And so teaching somebody fresh out of the animal, fresh out of the flesh, that just got alive spiritually, and walk them through this path of what it is to look like the Son. So that's so sometimes we're not doing enough of that. That's for sure. And it's we have avenues and we have kind of outlets by which to do that. Charlie Kirk used his influence and his platform to bring light to the gospel and to unashamedly talk about the Lord. And look, man, I'm not grieving over it. I mean, look, we lost another one. We lose people.
Right.
We lost, I don't know how many people died yesterday. A lot of people died yesterday. Charlie Kirk was one of them. And I have, over the years, and you're probably one of the most introspective people that I know, but over the years, I've just, it's dawned on me as I grow closer to the Lord that I don't die. Like Charlie Kirk isn't dead, right? His body, he's not here anymore. He got taken out of the game, but he's fine. Like Charlie Kirk,
he's better than fine.
Charlie Kirk is better than everybody else right now.
He's the best you can be.
That's
something you gotta, but you talk about what'd you call the animal and the spirit?
Yeah.
Or you could do horizontal, vertical. It's so easy to look horizontally on this plane that we walk around on. And that's the beauty of the Christian life. It's not dualistic. It's not either the physical or the spiritual. It's the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
And so whenever you get too off on one side, too heavenly minded, no earthly good, to where you're really just, I mean, and that's kind of a shaky little thing, but but because I don't think that's possible. If you're truly heavenly minded, you will be earthly good. But there is a way to be heavenly minded in a sense that I'm going to do my Christian thing. I'm going to keep in my little Christian bubble, and I'm going to protect myself.
If your dedication to your mind is so much so as to be, I'm just going to focus completely on the Lord. And in order to do that, I need to leave the world, go into like a monastery or some kind of monkishness or whatever, and then just chant and pray and meditate all day. That's contrary to what you're saying.
Yeah, that's an Eastern concept, right? In fact, you had a guy talking about AI and Agarwal, and great, awesome. But I felt like I saw his dualism coming through in the way he was talking about it, there's truth to it, but because he was saying, well, AI doesn't have emotions, that doesn't have that spiritual side, that vertical thing. It doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be our distinctive. And so there's always going to be a need to scratch that spiritual itch,
Yeah.
And maybe I still think that AI could do a better job than a lot of human beings sharing the gospel.
Look, dude, I stumbled across I
But at the
stumbled
same,
across a
yeah.
metal band, dude, that I was listening to for a while, for like a couple of weeks, and then I looked them up, and it turns out they're an AI band.
Whoa, I know.
It was so good.
It's this new band, dude.
Yeah, it's a new band, bro. You gotta listen to this new band. It's so awesome,
And
dude.
your other bros, like, no, he's not.
Dude, those are
Maybe
robot.
not. No, they're
That's a
not a band.
robot, bro. You're singing worship songs written by Rob. I'm like, no, they're good songs, man. I can't take
There's
it
no
away from
physical to it, bro. It's
them.
just freaking X's and
Ones and zeros, man.
ones
It's
and
just
zeros. I mean, yeah, ones and
making
zeros.
music. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So the dualism, like where you're just saying that it's either spiritual or physical,
Mhm.
and spiritual is the way to go. So that's why you want to leave the earth and just disseminate into the energy of the universe, into the ether. And I'm like, oh, so your heaven is ceasing to exist, or
Yeah.
as an individual, you just.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
like, oh,
blend in with the energy. It's like the
or
Luke Skywalker school of theology.
yeah, Luke, clear your thoughts.
Clear, yeah. You will become part of the force. I'm like, I get to
Luke,
be
be
part of the force.
stupid.
Dude, if you plug me into the force and I get to have influence in the force, dude, you're in trouble. Because you might want to use your lightsaber. I might be off that
Oh
day.
yeah, there's times on the road where you don't want me to have that force.
No, no. You don't
You
want
don't
that
want that.
force.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I heard that coming in, and so we're in thinking of back to the Charlie Kirk. It's got me thinking, how could I be that spiritual man
Yeah.
that's walking around here down on the earth, getting my feet dirty? Example, sharing the simple gospel, keeping it simple.
Keep it
There are
simple.
so many times I talk to people about Christianity, Jesus, and they want to go to the sexy debatable topics, when like evolution, or why does evil exist, how could God let this happen or that. And there's so many things, and those are some things that are mysterious, and there's good answers to, if you have the right framework that God is good.
Mm-hmm.
But they lost my train of thought.
Well, it is like it's interesting that when you get into those discussions about the gospel, and because it is the aim of our life, it is the aim of our life to say, of all the trillions of people that have ever existed on this planet, we don't remember any of them. Like there's a handful of people that
Oh, that's so
have
good.
come and gone, that are written in the annals of history, and that's it. What percentage of that? That's not even a half of 1% of the people that's ever lived. These lives mean absolutely nothing, except to the extent that we can have an influence in other people's lives. And if that influence predominantly is that influence leads from them being fleshly focused on themselves to being spiritually focused, and then having been forgiven of their sins and being put in right relationship with the creator of the universe, that is the chief goal. And if that's what we have to, if that's what guys like, if that's why any martyrs are getting smoked, that's, I would rather, when the guys got on on the group chat yesterday, when Charlie Kirk was, when Charlie got shot. And, there's a lot of mourning, obviously. A lot of the college kids at our church were very distraught and kind of messed up because they had met him, or he came to their school or something. And so they have this impact. And so people were a little sad. And I just thought, kind of like you did, like there's this moment of introspection where you're like, I am living this long, comfortable, unaffected,
Yeah.
undangerous life.
Hmm.
And it would be an honor to be shot in the neck for standing up for truth, and for standing up for the gospel. I mean, and you go, compare the two lives, Charlie Kirk's and mine, Charlie
Hmm.
Kirk's and yours, whatever. And you go, if that's the last piece of example that he leaves behind, that's a good example.
Yeah, I think again, I remember. Yeah, I mean, on that respect, on that line, it would be an honor just to be called the freaking weirdo for just sharing the gospel. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, that's what I'm worried about. When I get shot, I'm worried about people going, "Oh, he's one of those," you
No,
know.
he's one.
So,
You're one of them Jesus
yeah,
freaks.
but I was going now. Now I remember where I got talking about the simplicity of the gospel and people wanting to talk about the more
Secondary issues.
secondary issues, and they're interesting to talk about, no question. I love it. But but when you just talk about how keeping it simple, you know, the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
You that's that's where I want to be. And I heard Charlie like on it's just rare. I mean, a lot of people who have that level of influence don't share the gospel. Don't just he just did it in such a way. I was just watching just, you know, of course I'm just scrolling through my shorts on YouTube and I'm just stopping. I'm just flying by everything that isn't Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the people who are grieving his loss, and it's that's a good thing, man, in the
Hmm.
sense that he had an impact on people. And
Yeah.
I'm watching clips of him talk about the Lord, talk about just how he reads the Bible every day and vigorously, he said. And you know, I just want to be like that.
Yeah.
And it just gave me, and I've always wanted, you know, there've been, you know, my history is Christianity is interesting because I've led me to a point where I'm not the worship leader at my church. I've been a worship leader, like the head guy, and through many churches and just lots of moving around. It's almost like I'm in the military, you know, just like dragging my family from this base to that base,
Hmm.
and experiencing not the best of humanity inside of churches and experiencing the best of humanity inside of churches. And when I was outside of the church, I would experience not the best of humanity, and I would also experience the best of humanity out of non-Christians. So that's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just at this place right now where yeah, it's a little bit of lukewarmness, and we need to there's things that have been happening leading up to this moment that have been really good and getting us plugged back into church more and more and more. And so, yeah, the simplicity of the gospel is just, hey, man, focus on the things that are very clear in scripture, which is die to yourself,
Hmm.
uh, live a sacrificial, loving life like
Yeah.
Jesus did. And that's what inspires people, unbelievers, non-believers, non-Christians, Christians, when people sacrificially love.
Yeah.
And when, like Charlie Kirk, when he's able to talk to people, there were times I saw him get testy, like any human being would. But there
Sure.
was so many times where people were just outwardly being obnoxiously rude and aggressive and obstinate with him, and he would stay calm and just speak facts,
Yeah.
speak the truth, anything he knew that was true. And we
Do you think that's part of because for a long time I was concerned, and I still am on some level. There's always this human concern about what other people think about you and this and that. I mean, I think that's dwindled for me over the last few years in it. The more that I pray, the more that I read, the more that God's opinion of me matters more than people's opinion. So, but do you think that is there the temptation when does that stifle it? When we are overly concerned about what other people are thinking, when we're overly concerned about, Charlie clearly didn't. He had a firm foundation of what he believed, and he was super. I mean, are we mixing it up? I'm having a hard time formatting this question, but are we messing it up by trying to give formulas and strategies and all these ways of sharing the gospel when really the bottom line seems to be know the creator of the universe, develop a tight, close relationship with him, and then that vertical relationship will flow, like you said earlier, it'll just flow. Like, Why are we trying to systematize things and make it all like there's an order to things, of course, but maybe it's just God has an impact in my life, and that impact reveals itself in my courageous, fearless, whatever thing of proclaiming the gospel.
Dude, John 15.
Yeah.
I wrote a song. See if I can remember the lyrics. Seems like I'm running around.
You didn't write it down?
I haven't, I never, this one's not one that I played a lot, but chasing all my dreams. Seems like I've been chasing all my dreams, spending so much energy on my clever schemes.
Mm-hmm.
But what you want from me is closer than it seems. Seek me first and you will find rest for your soul, peace for your mind. I'm the branch, you are the vine. If you remain in me, you'll be just fine.
Yeah, well said, dude. That's a good, that should have, I mean, that should be the song we're singing all the time, right? That's like it's counterintuitive. What we find to be like, oh, okay, I need to appeal to what other people think of me. I need to care about what other people think of me. I'm afraid I got to say it like this. I have to say it more loving. I have to use more kid gloves. I can't have any sense of an attitude, right? Because I don't want to misrepresent Christ. There's always like this fear, at least in kind of the forms that I grew up in Christianity with. It's like, don't make anybody stumble. Don't offend anybody. Don't do this. Don't do that. You're the voice that wins the soul. And you're like, oh my gosh, dude, that is a lot of responsibility. Like, at what point are you not yourself anymore? And you're just kind of like, where you're just trying to appease everybody. Oh, I'm afraid to step outside my box. I'm afraid to share the gospel with somebody, and because I might lose my temper tomorrow. And then if I lose my temper tomorrow, that might cost them their salvation. You're like, oh my, I can't handle it. Like, it's just, it's paralyzing to think that we've put all this weight of glory and eternity on our own shoulders where it doesn't belong.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, there's that whole, it's the mental game. It's this idea, mind thing. There is worried about what other people think, but then there's also putting images in your mind of what you think the Lord wants you to do. And they tend to be much grander. Like, I wrote that song based on wanting to be in full-time ministry and making an idol out of that.
You and I shared that idol for a long time.
So when the Lord saved me, it was a very personal and real thing that that I knew that the Lord had done something in my life, chased me down, and just got so close to the back of my neck that I could feel him breathing down, not literally, but figuratively breathing down my neck. I turned around, he was right there, and he just wrapped me in a hug and just brought me in, man. And I was so transformed by that love that I was like immediately.
Yeah.
I wanted to serve him. I wanted to know what the Bible said, how I wanted to obey him. I trusted him completely.
Yeah.
And so.
Did that change at some point?
But then, it grew, the idea of being in ministry or even in full-time ministry grew out of a very wholesome desire to serve the Lord. But then, yeah, it does what you're just asking. It does. It turns into, okay, I am not doing the simple things in order to pursue the clever schemes and my dreams. And so yeah, there's little compromises along the way. We're like, well, I gotta make this chord charts. I can't spend time with the Lord. I gotta do this thing. I gotta develop this handbook because people are not understanding what we're trying to accomplish, how to be a team, and
Mm-hmm.
doing all these things. And then pretty soon and then you're going, okay, I'll promote from within, that I'll be in little small churches, and the church will grow, and that'll grow into a full-time ministry.
Yeah.
And then you just go through
As
two,
it
three churches.
as it turns out, though, small churches are small for a reason, and it's not
Yep.
just because of the worship leader.
And then there's a point where, after a lot of energy put out, you realize this church is not growing because the leadership.
Yeah, weak leadership.
And so you go to another church. And then I went to one church where it was and then, oh no, so then I go, oh, I'm going to go to school. So then I go to master's college. Because I go, well, I can't promote from within, because I go through, I probably went through like couple churches, 3 churches. And I knew that, so it seemed to me, because I wanted to be in full-time ministry in my timing. So it's possible that the churches could have grown. They didn't.
Yeah.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they weren't going to grow. It just seemed like it to me. And so then I go, okay, well, I'm going to go to school. So then I go to school, go to master's college. That took me years, 7, 8 years to get that done. Hmm. And then while I was finishing up college, I was probably halfway through, I got an offer for a full-time position. Mm-hmm. Oh, I went into that rose-colored glasses, baby, because it's a full-time position.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were going to give me enough money for me to live
right
in Santa Barbara, California.
And you get to minister.
And I'm like, I think Santa Barbara, I think the Lord's calling me to Santa Barbara.
Yeah. That's every church planner that says, coming out of like Bible college, says, I think I feel called to Huntington Beach. You're like, well, hold on a sec. You like surfing and you like skateboarding. It just so happens that he's calling you to Huntington Beach. Yeah, of course. That makes sense.
Right. So I went there, and then that was just, oh my gosh, man.
I remember that was that toupee guy?
Toupee guy.
Toupee guy. Yeah.
Cool dude, just not the same view. Like a very just
people are going to be wondering, what's toupee guy?
Toupee guy. There's a guy who was the pastor of a church, and I was made to wear in Southern California, and I was made to wear a suit, and he wore a suit, and he had a toupee.
Yeah.
And it was obvious that he had a toupee.
That's how you know you had. That's how you know you had the rose-colored glasses on, because when you met him and you saw the church, you should have thought to yourself, "There's no way I could do this. They're going to pay me."
I talked to them about the gospel, and he believed the gospel. But then I didn't. At that point, I'm like, ministry. All I really wanted them to do is adhere to the gospel, which they do.
Yeah.
But they also have a very Christian culture, like just a very
internal, like inward. Yeah. It's like an inward culture.
Church is Sunday morning, and a Bible study during the week.
Yeah.
And youth ministry, because they hired me as a worship leader, youth ministry guy. And so they had a young people problem, because their whole church wasn't reaching out to young families.
Yep.
So they hired a young guy to fix their young person.
They hired a young guy. Now, young people are attracted to leadership. So that, for one, was probably the leadership problem, not yours, right? And we can, you'll give history on this, but they grabbed a young guy, and they dressed you like an old guy. And then blamed you that the youth didn't grow.
Yeah. So I had a good, decent sized group of people for the kids for the church. Like I had, it was like 20, and there was probably a couple hundred people in the church. It was a really good sized group of kids, come to find out, for what was going on Sunday morning.
Oh,
Okay. Because what would happen was we would have kids come, and then their parents would follow the kids and then come to a Sunday morning thing. And it was like mostly hymns. And I had a piano lady who was just a great person, but I would position the monitor because I would be leading with my rhythm on my guitar, which is a modern rhythm. It's not a march rhythm.
yeah,
It's not that. And she would just hit everything on the quarter note, dude. Just
yeah.
so, and I would go, hey, no, this song that we're playing has this rhythm. And I go, can you hear the monitor? Adjust the wedge a little bit. She's like, yeah, I hear it. She goes, I'm not doing it. I'm like,
I'm 400 years old. I'm 400 years old.
And so
you young
guess
whippersnapper. I don't have to
what
do
I
what you say.
did is I just go to the pastor, say, hey man, we got to try to, what do I do with this person? They won't do what I tell them to do. I thought I was a leader.
Yeah.
and he's like, well, we have a lot of older people, and that's the beat they like. So I did that for 3 years. The church wasn't growing, the youth group wasn't growing, and because the whole church didn't have a vision for young families. That's what it requires. That's what leadership is. And so then they cut my after the first year, I got a performance review, corporate model. They would say,
Sure.
and they gave me a list of things that I need to improve upon, improvement checklist.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that every year. So I lasted like 3 years. So 2 years, the third year, they cut my wage in half and said I still need to do the same job.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. That was
and so I
did that experience have an impact? Because you contrasted that with, when you first came to the Lord, it was like, like seas parting, all in, relentless, abandon, whatever God wants. Did church, not just that one, but did church that and maybe other things have an effect on kind of putting out that flame a bit?
100%. I watched pornography at that church. I just wanted to win. I just wanted to, I just wanted to feel better, dude. I went to some freaking dark places. I would walk around at my house and I'm still having to, well, for the first year, we still lived in Rosamond. I used to drive from Rosamond, California up by Lancaster, California, like 2 hours. That would be Sunday morning. I'd load all the kids in the car and we would get there, then do church, and sometimes I'd have choir practice after church. Then we would load up and go back home, and I'd work from home till Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I'd come down, do youth group on Wednesday night. I think maybe I slept on the floor inside the church somewhere. I can't remember.
In your office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I would go home after. No, I can't remember. I can't remember what happened.
What part of that?
But anyway, the point is I stayed at the church a lot, but then I went home after church on Wednesday, after youth group on Wednesday, stayed with the kids and the family till Sunday morning. And I think I drove back home with them and then got my car and came right back.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Can you identify at what point you started losing focus on the Lord and started focusing on just other things?
Yeah. At what point? Yeah. Let me think if I could.
Because it can't just be the church, right? It's not, I want more than anything to blame a lot of my lack of career choices, or because, you and I we're parallel. Like we've been living similar lives since we've known each other. And that's been, I don't know, 20 years or something. Right. So it's like, I want so badly to say that, yes, for a long time, I wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to be in full-time ministry. That's what I put this box of serving people and coaching people and discipling people. And that's where those tools and that talent and the calling, or whatever you want to call it, the gifts, that's what those gifts fit into, that box called pastor. And so that's what I wanted to be for a long time. And as badly as I want to blame, the small churches that I was a part of and their crappy leadership, and they're part of it, right? Like, you want to have it's important to have men around you that go, hey,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm picking up I'm smelling what you're stepping in, dude.
you
I
want
know
to have you want to have those guys that can talk into your life and direct you. But at the lack of having those guys, we're not completely abandoned of our responsibility to seek the Lord ourselves. And I think I fell into that same trap you did, where it's just like you start looking at what you get to do for the Lord and you stop looking at the Lord himself.
Yeah, 100. I don't know. I definitely believe it was cumulative and just getting yourself so busy, because also during that time, I was not traveling back and forth to Rosamond. I was also still doing school.
Yeah, right.
And then when we finally sold our house and moved to, I go, because it was, well, we got to sell our house first and then we'll move. And so I remember telling after a year, the pastor, I'd tell him, hey, we finally sold the house. I was all excited, and I saw the look on his face. And I chose to not think about that, but thinking back, I thought he was like, oh no, we were just going to fire this guy.
It's how interesting are those when you look back and you see it as clearly as you wish you would have seen it at the moment.
Yeah. I definitely got myself so busy that I stopped. We're circling back to the priority of having a relationship with the Lord, to really let him tell me who I am, and not let other people tell me that I'm a big failure.
Let him tell you who you are. That's an important note. I'm going to put an emphasis on that in this episode. Let him tell you who you are.
Amen. Because I was letting them tell me who I was, and I believed it, and I was depressed. I was depressed, bro. So we're back to that, having these big schemes, but also they're so linked to what people think of you. And
if you have tendencies towards insecurities, like you and I have insecurities, it's like a genetic, like we're confident and we're competent. And I think, we know who we are now as we're getting older, but there was always, for me at least, there was always this moment where no matter how right I felt I was, if you challenged me authoritatively enough, I would start questioning myself. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong. And then, so I think you have those insecurities, and those, when you have that insecurity and those fears or whatever it is, and you let other people tell you who you are. And then did you notice when you were allowing other people to kind of influence how you saw yourself versus how God sees you, did you sense something was out of balance, or how long did that go on? That went on for a long time.
Long time. And when you talk about insecurity, I definitely where it becomes very damaging to the relationships around me is my defensiveness. So if you're listening to these voices telling you, if you have a million or I'll say hundreds of voices in your head telling you suck, when somebody goes, hey, Mel, love you, they could say it in the most loving way. But if you can really tweak this little, I can't do anything right. And they're like, whoa, dude.
You're like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Hey.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of just like creep out of the room. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And then you teach people with that kind of, with that kind of response to your own insecurity, then you teach people like, hey, man, we can't talk to these guys about anything. Like, I mean, no matter how nice I try to put it, there's just no, and then what do? You back people into a corner where they can't even barely even talk to you.
And
Sucks.
yeah, so we're just back to, I could circle it back to the Charlie Kirk thing, causing me to introspect. Another thing that I do, dude, when things get to me, like I feel out of control,
Mhm.
I just rearranged my office at home last night. Renee was watching TV.
Yeah.
That's her way. She just goes, I'm out.
Yeah.
See ya.
Time to disconnect.
Yeah. I see her in the bed. She gets the little blanket wrapped around. She gets in, I call it a little cocoon. She's all freaking cozy in there. And I'm like walking all over the place,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my way to say, oh, I would like to have a sense of control. So I will, oh, look, I'll move this. That has been sitting, that box of like junky stuff has been sitting on my shelf for
Mhm.
like 6 months. It is no longer there, dude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I felt good about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, there are things I can control, so awesome
Yeah.
when things seem out of control.
I do that
So
too.
yeah. And so, but then that's just a real practical thing. I stand by it.
Yeah.
But I still did I wake up this morning and spend time with the Lord? No, I had to come do this with you.
You didn't have to.
You're my problem.
That is
Yeah,
the,
no, but my point is that we're back to that. It really does. The times when I'm most passionate about the Lord, about life,
Mhm.
is when I'm the closest to the Lord.
That's a good point, because I look, for a long time, especially as I've been pursuing these coaching certifications and different things going down this road, you have this choice where you're going to kind of throw out either a very big net, like I'm going to coach everybody. I'll just bring everybody in, whatever, man. This is what I want to do. And in doing that, I go, well, who am I though? Like I can coach from any direction. Like if you're an atheist, I don't care, right? Because it's not about the coach. It's about the client. It has nothing to do with my worldview or anything else. But in the marketing things, when you're reaching out, who do you want to work with? Who do you want to target? Then it behooves you to figure out who those people are. And I threw out such a big, I was throwing out such a big net because I didn't want to commit. Do I want to be that coach that's a Christian? Do I want to be that content creator that's a Christian? That's such a small, like, do I want to be in that box? And then it's like, that was suffocating. It's like there's an anchor tied to your foot because you can't hide it. Like Jesus is my life. Like he is the definition of life itself. He is the way, he is the truth, he is the life. When he who is our life appears, like he's our life. I mean, so in the attempt to not alienate atheists, in the attempt to not alienate people who are not believers, in an attempt to not, I had to kind of suffocate myself. And it wasn't until I decided, screw that. I'm either all in or I'm not. I'm either unashamed or I'm not. And that's freedom right there.
I think also too, you're following into a falsity that you can't talk about religion and politics because of our culture, because there's one side that everybody says, well, both sides demonize the other side. And I'm a percentage guy. And I see one side doing it way more
guy. I see
than
the liberals.
side. And
I see the liberals as
liberals
being 80-20.
Yeah, the woke thing, it is a mind virus. It has changed our society to where if you have a certain set of views, you cannot say those without being attacked and abused, really. Whether you lose your job for simply saying that homosexuality is a sin, which the Bible just says. And
Yeah.
so why do you get to win? Why do you get to determine?
My destiny based on your
Why is your
worldview.
view so valid and mine so invalid on an issue that's not really provable, like fully?
Yeah.
You can see the detrimental sides of things.
Mhm.
You could look at suicide rates, and those are conclusive.
Yeah.
So you could, but then you could look at a homosexual couple that are just loving on each other and just being good people to each other.
Yeah.
So, but why does one side get to determine that you can't say something?
Well, that's the
Uh,
interesting point, because in 19, in the 80s and 90s, everybody was all about, well, Christians aren't allowed, you shouldn't legislate morality, you shouldn't push your views on us, you shouldn't be able to tell us how to live our lives. And systematically, Christian community as a whole kind of lost their influence and their ability to speak into lives. And then in that vacuum came all these liberal voices that say, hey, you should live like this, you should legislate that, you should. And you're like, hold on a sec, did we just flipped? Like, it was, on one hand, we were speaking, hey, you shouldn't murder each other in the streets, you shouldn't kill babies, you
right.
shouldn't do this, you should love each other, you should be generous, you should be selfless. We were preaching, and maybe some people were a little hard, going straight to the, net with some,
You have to wear this,
non-loving speech or whatever. And
or you
so
have to
they,
wear this, or you have to
yeah,
talk this
right.
way, or
Yeah, so we had
yeah.
that, we had that. Okay, so we're preaching kind of love, ideally from a biblical standpoint, love, self-sacrificial love, generosity, but we're not allowed to tell you to live like that. Okay, fine, whatever. But then now all of a sudden you're allowed to tell us. I can't call, like what Charlie Kirk was saying in a lot of his speeches, is like, am I forced to lie for your feelings because you're a man with a beard dressed up like a woman? You're clearly a man.
Hmm.
Why am I forced to lie and call you a woman? So that
Hmm.
flipped, like, where now morality is being legislated by the cultural norms, and it's insanity.
Hmm. It's
So
reached. Do you think? I believe you talk about the 80s, and let's make this clear: the battle is not against flesh and blood;
yeah.
it's against the rulers, the principalities in this dark realm. It's
Hmm.
in the heavenlies. It's a spiritual thing
Yeah,
that
that's right.
that there's always going to be opposition to the gospel. Jesus got crucified.
Yep.
He was just telling the truth. I'm the son of God.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you I'm going to raise 3 days later, and
Hmm.
I'm going to do it. And even then, his disciples, who just simply said, hey, Jesus resurrected, you saw him. He was
Yeah,
dead 3 days. You guys all saw him. And then they all got killed, most of them.
for sure.
So,
Well, yeah.
so there's always something eroding, but I think the biggest where the snowball might have been rolling flatly along some
Hmm.
kind of plane, and then it hit at the plane of time, and
Yeah.
then it hit evolution,
It-
and then it started freaking picking up size as it went, because when the Scopes trial came out and they basically proved that what humanity, what was the Scopes trial about?
I have no idea. I was
Okay,
going to ask you to
sorry,
explain.
sorry. But they're basically, in general, what happened was, hey, we all come from monkeys. There's no creator. What you guys have been believing is bunk. So get back in your churches and shut up,
Mm,
because you have an irrelevant model now.
yeah. We've proven God doesn't exist. So,
And you don't have to do what the Bible says,
right.
because that's a bunch of bullcrap.
Right.
And so, and there's a whole thing of trusting experts. That's a problem, because we have a lot of evidence now that's just completely contrary to the evolutionary model. Where not, the whole macro micro thing. We've talked about this a lot. It's they always point to microevolution, adaptation, to
support their
support
view.
to support that we came from single
Yeah,
cell.
they use microevolution to support their macroevolutionary theory.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets convoluted. It's like, yeah,
any theory that can't be proven. It's a theory. It can't be proven.
yeah.
That they just keep on extending the length of time it takes to get the complexity that we have now
Yeah.
is highly suspect.
You don't know that time and chance solves all the problems.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't know
Yeah.
that, like, even though science says that you can't have life from non-life. That's a fundamental principle. Here we are. We have life. And at some point there wasn't.
And you can't reduce complexity.
Yeah.
You can't reduce complexity and have it be valuable for survival at all. You can't reduce. The eyeball has millions of components that make it work. I don't know. Well, a lot of components that make it work. You take one component away, it is not useful at all. So how does it get there?
Billions more years.
Yeah, no.
You just add billions of more years. You go, well, all right, we have to account for the eyeball.
But it never gets there, because the first mutation, something that goes wrong, by the way, the whole idea of beneficial mutations is pretty nuts too. Something that goes wrong on the DNA level that helps us, that's beneficial, we don't see that. When there's something that goes wrong at the DNA level, it's disease, it's mental problems, it's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
well, I mean, we could talk about that for hours.
But there's logical reasons to believe contrary. And I found that when I start to present those to people, it just eclipses the gospel, because they just get scared that their view is invalid.
All we ask for anybody, right? Well, all we ask for anybody is that they come to understand the gospel, or that God would grant them repentance, right? But that's beside the point. If you're not going to consider the gospel, if you're not going to consider the spiritual things, then at least consider what it would mean to live in complete congruency with your Darwinian worldview.
Right.
Right. Which is like, why do you throw anybody in prison for taking another person's life, when that is the way of Darwin? That is just the way. That's, you're weak, I'm strong, I won, you lost. Sucks for you. Whatever. Like, why are there any, this is an argument for morality, but it's still like, if we are all just nothing that happened here by accident and over tens of billions of years evolved into these sentient conscious monkeys, then what role does rules or laws or anything play in our life? And why in the world would we have to listen to any of them?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because we'll be ostracized from society because the other monkeys won't like us? Who cares? Right? So, like, to enforce these laws, the monkey laws on us, the animal laws, when at its foundation doesn't allow for laws, then, like, where do you get, there's no morality. You can argue that you can enforce a morality. You can argue that at a very small level, some leader who can beat up every other leader decides, we're not going to steal each other's stuff.
Because the thing that I'm trying to control gets a little out of control when that happens. So it's going to be a pragmatic, practical way to, for that.
So you can
Yeah.
force a morality if you have all the power, but your morality is still built on sand if you really believe that you evolved from nothing and you're trying
Yeah.
to control society with it.
Yeah. Don't, another thing is people want to borrow from Christianity when it's convenient.
Yeah.
And you're one of your biggest examples of proofs is your own testimony, your own perception of the world for God.
Mm.
That where do you get your sense of ought? That's not, people go nature versus nurture. You're like, no, I mean, you get your sense of ought when something is not as it ought to be.
Mm.
That is what all movies are about. You, if you just talk about, if you just listen to people who are just struggling with life,
Mm.
it's just them trying to, or they'll write a movie, they'll make a movie about some travesty, and it's just them struggling with the depravity of man. Like
Yeah.
how that is not as it should be. Look at this. I'm going to expose this, and I'm going to show the world that this shouldn't be like this.
Yeah.
Human trafficking.
But from an animal standpoint, that is as it ought to be, right? Because why wouldn't you traffic human beings if all we are conscious
We're
monkeys?
not animals because we
Right.
have, right? We have a sense of ought. We have a sense of how things should be. We have a self-awareness. You just don't have, the biggest evolutionary thing that I've heard argument is that it's just somehow that we developed that over the millions of years. They have no answer for how that came to be,
No,
or
yeah.
where you look at all civilizations across the board, they worship deity in some kind of shape or form.
Yeah, it always goes back to religion.
How
So
does
I
that
mean,
help you
yeah,
live?
they're religious. The macroevolutionary Darwinian people are just as religious as they accuse us of being.
Yeah, they're taking things by faith. No problem. Yeah, it's
Sure.
fine. It's just, don't call it. If you take
Don't call it
that's a
science.
zealot. That's a zealot, right?
Well, you say don't call it science, right? If that's
They're taking things that aren't necessarily provable
mhm,
and moving it into scientific fact zone,
yeah,
which Christians have sometimes do.
yeah,
They'll go, I could prove to you God exists. And you're like,
yeah,
there's a lot of evidence, but there's no reproducible experiment. Like the scientific method, you're supposed to be able to reproduce it.
yeah,
You cannot reproduce God speaking the universe into existence. You just
yeah,
have to look at the evidence and what we see and say, which makes more sense? This thing exploding so that there's order, or
yeah,
that there was intelligence involved to where all the trees work the same.
yeah.
There's all these species. A dog's a dog, cat's a cat. We don't have dog cats.
I don't know. There might be. There's no such thing as dog cats. No, feline and canine, two different
Well, when you
things.
get, on the genetic side, whatever, it might be something that looks like it, but if you
That's
get down to the genetic
that's
level,
different because some people are going to say, well, there's Chihuahuas and there's wolves, and then you go, yeah, but they're both dogs.
that's a dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And you
strangely
can
enough,
see it.
they all
They
came
look
from the wolf.
really similar. Like, I mean, just think about, dude, I love this. Dude, cats and then lions. Like a house cat.
Like they're related, dude. That's
Dude,
weird. That's
they
super.
freaking crouch down. Little cat.
Yeah.
He's a little dude, you better hope they don't like evolve into a freaking lion, because like they're gonna get to a certain point and then you're gonna get killed in your sleep, man.
Yeah, right.
All
They're
right.
related. They're related, and in that sense, it's a microevolutionary change. Those are adaptations that we're putting in genetically. We're splicing genomes. We're
Uh,
we're playing with it. We're nice. That's where we got Chihuahuas from. Where do we get Chihuahuas? We just bred down until we got to a very small dog. What's a freaking Pekingese, right? We took a wolf over a couple thousand years and we just bred it down into this little pocket dog. You're like,
yeah,
what the hell? That's an abomination.
nobody's like, yeah, the dog's like, look at me. That cat's bigger than me. What did you do to me? No.
Yeah, and now we're going backwards because there's scientists last year that cloned a dire wolf, like 3 or 4 dire wolves exist now because they found the DNA. They found the DNA and did the Jurassic Park
Did
situation.
the Jurassic Park thing that is happened.
Yeah. So that's going to get out of control, and then we're going to be surrounded by dire wolves. So
I heard that Rogan episode. I was like, what?
yeah, I saw it on social
Guys,
media.
Yeah, we got him. We got him. I'm like, what? Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, giant wolves. We're just giant wolves. Like if
I thought that was a
like
movie.
King Kong versus Godzilla, we're gonna have dire wolves versus lions, and that's how it's gonna play out in the streets of Ventura, Oxnard.
So yeah, that's all we need.
On that note, my friend, I have on that note, when we're talking, we'll end it on this, and that is,
Okay.
Depending on your worldview, I'm not surprised that Charlie Kirk got shot.
Right.
Because the macro evolutionary mindset, the Darwinian mindset, lends itself to smoking anything that we don't agree with. And I think to be offended at the fact that somebody got murdered by some crazy guy who decided he wanted to silence a powerful voice, I think that's more evidence that the worldview that people have been proclaiming from a Darwinian standpoint is wrong. It's just wrong. When you teach people from kindergarten through university that all they are is animals, and then they start behaving like animals and shooting people in public, I don't know why anybody would be surprised at that.
Yeah, I mean, evolution, what it does, macroevolution, Darwinian evolution, what it does is says that survival of fittest makes right. And if you see something that's wrong, that would benefit humanity in general, then you could eliminate it. And the media is implicit in that message. This whole idea that speech is violence.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's school districts, it's universities, it's educators at all levels,
Mm-hmm.
and
I saw it in I saw it in the comments. It's if you could read Francis Schaeffer, you'll see that it starts in the arts, works its way through government, down through the people. That's how change happens.
Yep.
And so when you see it downstream that far, all this hate, all this justification, all this he deserved it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're well down the road, man, and we're seeing it.
Those are
and so when the physical reflects what God's already saying, which is man is depraved.
Yep.
It's a great time. It's a great time for people to reflect and go, what's the truth? What's going on? And it's a great time to get back to the Lord, get back to the person who redeemed and who will return and set it all straight.
The conditions ultimately point to the identity. If you have conditions by which you are creating anxiety and pain and you're snuffing out voices that you don't agree with, then that points to an identity that says that you're an accident and that you've been taught that you're just a monkey. So I mean, they're all connected. We got to get people's identity back on who God is and who we were intended to be, and then that'll flow downstream likewise, and we can then we'll have a society built on love, and that's the kingdom of God that we're all members of, and where Charlie Kirk is today. So on that note, Mel Duncan, thank you so much, man, for being here. I appreciate you and your friendship and your family. I love all of you guys, and I hope to see you guys super soon.
Yes, tri-tips in the future, my friend.
Yes, sir.
If you enjoyed this show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. For more information about Jake, log on to jakegiffin.com and find him on all social media platforms. Until next time, peace and power be